Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being the show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Clevatess Season 1, Episode 2. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So picking up where the last episode left off, we have the conversation between Glenn and Alicia about why he's not doing anything, because he plans on living his life as a human, but he doesn't plan on revealing himself until Luna's on the throne. So we're going to be waiting a while, but because this is his best opportunity to judge humanity, because he's asking questions like, oh, are these bandits, are they strong? It's like, no. And Alicia's like, but the thing is, they can fight dirty, so that's what kind of gives him an advantage. They will kind of do whatever it takes. But she also says, don't allow them to be the judgment on humanity. You know, they shouldn't be like on your barometer. Like, don't judge humanity based off of them being the terrible pieces of crap that they are, but they're going to save them into slavery. And so Clint's just taking advantage of this situation. And so Alicia gets taken to the boss like once they arrive, because the boss has taken an interest in her, because the moment he sees her and she's got the bag of all that mineral to make those weapons, he realizes like, okay, there were 13 heroes that went to go kill a dark beast. They never came back, so most likely they failed. But of note is one of them was a woman, and the fact is you have all this like material must mean it's you, right? And he's like, oh, won't you take us to where, like, ultimately he's coming into the business perspective of, well, the benefit is that Hedon has been taken care of, and now he believes all the royals are dead, which they're not, but to everyone's knowledge, all the royals seem to be dead. And because of that, there's a scarcity in these weapons. So he has so it's a forgery scheme of like, yeah, we have these fake weapons and they'll sell for more because there's going to be like a scarcity in it. You know, it'll skyrocket the pricing because of that. And he's like, oh, like, take me to where all 13 weapons are. And it's like, well, she can take you to them, but she doesn't even tell you where they are, because also it is a self-preservation tactic, because like if they find out that the weapons are in one of the like 4 dark beast territories, they'd kill her immediately, because they're like, well, those weapons are lost to us, we might as well just kill her. So by not saying anything, she's prolonging her life. And so she's just kind of biting her tongue with the whole situation. So she ultimately has to be taken off by 2 of the other guards, which I thought was so interesting, that the boss, because he's, I guess, the new boss. I guess either the previous boss is either dead or got killed, whatever the case may be. But he has a dark beast called Betty, that he was basically like, oh, Betty, you're horny for a man? Well, I'll give you one of these 2 guys. And they were like, hell no. I was like, are you about to literally offer one of your people to be snoo-snooed? You know, very PG-13 way of kind of saying that. Shout outs to Futurama. Well, it wouldn't be so, well, the snoo-snooing can be pretty violent, so I guess it kind of works in that regard. But yeah, they take her to a bridge, and she actually knows this location. So I misconstrued some stuff last episode. I didn't think that these guys were the first heroes to ever like wander into beast territory and have these weapons, because they've been made over the centuries. But this particular area, there was a hero that came here and lost his life because this area was flooded, and there's those like beasts inside of the water that ended up coming into this area because the area got flooded, and he tried to defeat those beasts. But even being the great and powerful hero he lost, and we saw that his sword is somewhere at the bottom of the water. I guess like the beasts maybe alternate between, like, we don't know if those things eventually kill each other, because from what we saw, either that was supposed to be like a flash into the past, or that's supposed to be like, yo, that thing is just floating down there. Maybe like some of those beasts rip each other and kill each other, and every once in a while, like, or either those creatures shit it out every once in a while and it just gets gobbled up by another creature. But everyone knows that sword is down there, and slaves are tricked into thinking like, oh, if we go down there and retrieve it, we'll be free. But Alicia points out there was no rope tied to that slave that went down. So regardless if he found it or not, you were never going to let him come back up. He was always going to be a sacrificial lamb. You were never going to keep your promise to him. It's the one way, I guess, free ticket most people feel like is their way out of slavery. But Alicia kind of sees through this scheme and everything. It is really effed up and cruel. I mean, but these are some sick, twisted bastards that would enslave people in the first place and sell them off and stuff like that, take advantage of people, but also to get giddy out of it, like get like some joy and get their jollies off to like torturing and setting these people up for failure, knowing they won't succeed no matter what they do, because it's just for entertainment purposes. And so one of the guys, which we met earlier in the episode, didn't realize what the reason why his eyes are the way they are, pure white, is because he's blind and he bases what he can do on sound. Which kind of, when he was like, oh, I can hear your heartbeat because you're nervous, I was like, oh, is he not hearing their heartbeats? But it's like, no, I guess it's Alicia's, because he probably would recognize their heartbeats enough because he spent enough time around them. But like, oh, this is a new heartbeat and I can smell you and I can hear your heartbeat. The reason why I'm bringing it up is like, well, she's essentially a walking corpse, so I didn't know if like I guess regardless of, she's just a reanimated corpse. So even though she is dead, she is kind of the closest thing to living because she can still bleed and her heart still beats. So like a lot of her bodily functions are still in play, which I thought was kind of interesting because like a lot of times it's like, yo, like that's kind of nipped in the bud the moment you know, because she's almost like she's not quite a zombie. She is just undead. You know, a walking corpse, rather. So, like, there is a distinguishment there, which I think is kind of interesting. But also, taking advantage of her being what she is, she dislocates one of her arms, wraps, like, the thing that's bound to her around the guy and, like, rips off his ears and like, has him cut the bridge or the rope and they fall to their death because she's like, all right, I'm going to trust in you, Clint, that you say that I'm immortal. And her body just, like, once again, the brutalness of, like, I mean, just like seeing her body like busted up and bleeding everywhere, like they're just like ugh. So we have that side of the story. We also catch up with Clint. He's been put to work, and the madam who kind of runs the place, like her name is something with a C, I can't remember, but she's kind of the madam that looks after, you know, Clint's wet nurse who he meets. Her name is Nell, and I should have figured as much because it's like the fact is she can produce milk. Like we learn her backstory, but there's details that weren't included that your mind can wonder, and it's extra dark and it's extra effed up. So, but the fact is that her job is to feed any children. And what I think is, and she talks about this later, that sometime after she feeds the children and continues feeding them, that eventually the children disappear and then she moves on to the next child. So that must mean that they're selling off these children to people. The fact is that the children don't stay around for too long, you know, kind of plays into that. But Nell is, you know, called a cow and treated like less than nothing. The way, like, you know, and, you know, hearing from her story, like, obviously, like, the beating she gets, the way she's treated like crap, they use any excuse to torture her. Like, her missing teeth, she's been missing her teeth since she was 12 because one guy just beat her for no reason. Because her mom ended up taking a lot of that punishment for her. It's not until she was on the receiving end of it, she realized, like, oh, my mom had been protecting me the entire time. And when she was 12, her mom disappeared. And she's like, I don't know if my mom ran away or whether she died or not. But she was kind of on her own. And eventually the reason why she doesn't have any babies right now, sadly, is each one was sadly stillborn. And she wanted to initially die and join her baby when she lost her first child. But there was a 6-month-old that like latched onto her, and she felt like, this is my purpose. I can be that. I can help these children survive, and that can be the one thing I'm good at, so I can hold on to life a little bit longer. But what I was talking about earlier about, like, okay, it doesn't expressly say this, but you can only assume it's any of these guys taking advantage of her body again and again and again and again for her to have, like, I think she mentioned at least 3 stillborns. So the reason why she's because we have no idea, like, that's probably been over the course of years, you know. And that's gotta suck too, because just when you probably like I don't know for her whether or not she even wants to have a child under the circumstances. It doesn't mean you want to lose the child, but it's like, considering her situation, like, like that child would most likely get ripped from her arms regardless. Not unless they lied to her and said her children were stillborn just so they could secretly sell them off. But I don't know. I could definitely. It feels like that's a possibility, but it's more likely it is the sad situation that her children were stillborn. But still a possibility to keep in the back of your mind that she's being lied to or was lied to. But that's why she latches onto her role so much, because it's like, I can give these children a better life, the life and happiness I can never give to my own children. And it's just like so heartbreaking, because Clint is hearing her story because he had just watched like these two guys like abuse her and leave her, and she's like, and her main focus is, I got to get back to like feeding Luna, taking care of the child, because for her it's like, that's all I'm good for. And Clint deals with those guys expediently. Like basically they're like, oh yeah, I'm kind of feeling sick, a little dizzy, did we drink too much? I don't know what Clint did to them, but they like, blood erupts from their mouths, they fall over, and then the shadows gobble them up. I don't know whether he used like some kind of shadow to then like infect their body. I don't know what he did before like engulfing their bodies. I was like, oh, you're gonna hide those bodies? Oh, you don't have to worry about it, you just devour them. Quick and clean. But yeah, he asked Nell her story, and now hearing about it, he's like, cool, do you want to be the wet nurse for Luna? Come with me, and we can get away from these people known as scum. You can live as Luna's, wet nurse, because Luna likes you, and it benefits you, and you can get away from this life. But for her, like, Nell, it's like, I appreciate the offer, but you're a slave like me. There's no getting away. Plus, she's like, if I leave, what does that mean for all the other children, So... And obviously that kind of like, I think, struck a chord with Clint, because for him it's just kind of like, once again, the people he meets along this journey, I think, are going to be examples to him of what humanity's really capable of. And it's like seeing this side of someone who is, you could reach out to me to help you, but you'd rather stay in your situation because you believe what you're doing. Who cares? You don't care about what happens to yourself, but you care about looking after these children. So unintentionally, Nell is setting a good example for humanity, that even despite the shitty circumstances people can be in, that people can still be good and selfless, So, and I think that speaks volumes in a situation. There's some stuff I was gleaming from like the outro and the intro that I'm like, I don't know where Nell's story is going to go, and I'm curious to see how that goes, because I feel like Clint's story is going to be like, yeah, I'm going to end up recruiting people. Very JRPG-esque, especially like, spoilers for the game metaphor, but once again, have it pretty fresh on my mind. You basically, for the most part, gather party members from all of the different tribes that exist in that continuity, in that series, just like there's all these different humanoid tribes. So I think there's probably going to be something of that ilk for Clint. Maybe not. We'll see. But I hope like I said, there's a thing I saw at the end of the episode, in the ending, that I'm like, oh, is that what? Hopefully that's what happens for Nell's story, that it doesn't end tragically, because I feel like this is a setup for her to get killed. Hopefully that's not the case. I'll get an immediate answer after I finish this, because I'm starting this series quite late, so it's already like literally episode 5 comes out at the time of me recording this. So. Oh yeah, also there's the main, like I said, I think her name is like Krem or something like that, the main madam. She took notice of Clint and says that he kind of gives her the creep, because she's like, looking at the horn, she's like, he looks like an Orgite, but she's like, his skin's too pale for it, plus his eyes. She's like, there's something off about the kid. It's like, well, no one's ever going to immediately assume, oh my god, he's got to be one of the dark, like he's got to be the Lord of the Dark Beasts, but it's like, no one's going to make that leap in assumption. He's just gonna seem like because we know at least like the Hedons and the Duns, like there's crossbreeding in that. Sounds like extra weird to phrase it like that, but like there is like half Hedon and half Dune people. So we don't know if any of the other species, the other humanoids, ever like interracial things happen on that front either. But either way, it's definitely going to be interesting to see where the next episode takes us. I'm curious to see how long it's going to take Alicia to come back. Like, that was a question I had previously. Like, if you've ever seen the, this is kind of a spoiler, but if you've ever seen the show Misfits, there's a character that is immortal, and when he dies, it takes a while for him to come back. It's not like immediate, or So I'm curious to see like how long it will take Alicia like to come back. Like, is it fairly immediate or what? We'll have to wait and see where things kind of go on that front and where things go with Clint. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.